Speed's coverage of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans is brought to you by Porsche. Porsche, there is no substitute. By Valvoline, tested on the track, trusted on the road. And by Rolex, a crown for every achievement. Welcome back to Le Mans. Earlier today, Sunday Mass, public Sunday Mass held up on the hillside. And it was a Sunday Mass with a difference, a little bit of groove, a little bit of feeling in keeping with the spirit here at Le Mans.
A high-speed Mass.
It certainly was. Up on the stage that has seen multiple performers over the years. We welcome back. Yes, that was the familiar voice of David Hobbs. How you been? You well rested, ready for the finish?
Oh, yes, sir, Bub. Had my 99th meal on the Audi hospitality suite, which is very nice.
As we view Bill Binney's team, the American/Scottish effort with the veteran Japanese driver, and right on cue, here is the other American entry, Miracle Motorsports. Ian James, Andy Lally, John Macaluso. It looks like Ian in the car to me at the moment. They haven't plugged in their transponder, and that then doesn't come up with the correct driver on our screen. But looking from that helmet, it looks like Ian James. And these guys are headed for a podium in just their second appearance at Le Mans. Fabulous effort in the Courage.
And it's not easy for them. They're struggling, actually. They got to keep coming back to the pits to repair a massive oil leak. They don't know where it's coming from. They just keep dumping more in there, and it keeps dumping it back out.
Looks like something's falling off the back, too, there. Part of the bodywork coming adrift.
Ron Fellows there on the right side of the screen. Ollie, Gavin to the left.
They're preparing for their last stint. Ollie will go all the way to the checkered flag. And Ron Fellows, who knows what it's like to score victory here at Le Mans, wishes his younger teammate all the best for the final hour and a half of this event.
It's a special honor to be able to take that checkered flag. Of course, you share it with your teammates, sometimes two other teammates, sometimes one, in David's day. And it's an equal effort, but the guy who takes the checkered flag has the most emotion, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, there's no doubt about it. And, of course, Ron Fellows waiting until he can get Johnny O'Connell into the hotel room tonight and discuss the strategy of the previous day's race.
As we enjoy this ride with Corvette, just updating you on an overall position. The second Pescarolo with Nicholas Manassian at the wheel has moved into 5th position. 325 laps in the books compared to the race leader Marco Werner at 353, but at hour 8, they were 38th, so that is quite a comeback.
Now there again, sort of shows the difference with, I guess, the budget. It took them an hour and a half to do their gearbox. It took Audi 9 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Audi come with a pack. I mean, they just took the back off, new box in, on the go.
I can't help but thinking that Andre Pescarolo's down there in the pit thinking, if those stupid Audis hadn't come here, I'd have a 1-2 right now.
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. I mean, he tries so very hard. He hasn't won yet as a car owner, but boy, what an effort he's put up so far.
Speaking of that French challenge, and I mentioned yesterday that there was a press conference earlier this week that Peugeot are coming with a new prototype. It will be a coupe. It will have a roof on it. And just when I was leaving from one of my shifts yesterday, I bumped into former Honda F1 Racing test driver, Patrick Lemaire. And I said to Patrick, how are you doing? Doing any driving at the moment? He said, no. And I said, well, maybe Peugeot an option? He said, I would love to do it. I've been speaking with Jacques Villeneuve about doing it next year. And then just the other day when I was leaving the hotel, Olivier Panis happened to be checking in. Stay tuned. And he said he and Jacques have been working on Olivier Panis to convince him to make that threesome to come and do the race next year for Peugeot. How about that? That would be fabulous.
That would be a strong driver lineup, but of course that's what they're going to need, because if Audi stay around, you can see the front fender on the 24 car is having a bit of a derangement there as the slats have come unglued.
Now, as Johnny O'Connell brings the Corvette in to hand over to Ron Fellows, we're getting an update on the GT2 class-leading car. Dominic Farnbacher and Cycle Porsche may be experiencing some gearbox problems. So, right at the end when it counts after a stunning run, they may be faltering. That is Johnny's day done.
There was a last lap was a 4:40, and the Panos' last lap was a 4:21, and as you just said, Patrick Long's doing 4:11, so big gaps there in that GT2 class.
Make that 4:09s now for Patrick Long. He is hammering.
That's only 2 seconds slower than his fastest lap of the race.
Brian.
63 Corvette is in. Johnny O'Connell out. Ron Fellows is in. This will be the last driver change. Fellows will take it to the checkered flag, they hope. I talked to Dan Binks, who's the crew chief on this car, all of the team working so hard on it. I said, Dan, with all of the equipment that you guys have, you have the best of everything. The only thing I haven't seen in this garage is quit. Where is it? He said, quit doesn't exist here at Corvette. That's what we do. We work to race. We race to live. That's what we're doing right now. We're going to see the checkered flag in this thing, and that's exactly what they're trying to do.
And you know that it's got to be hard to strap in for another hour and a half of hard work when you are not in contention for victory, but they will still power to the end, no doubt. Let's get an update on the 83. Here's Andrew.
Yes, indeed. I've just been talking to Horst Farnbacher, father of Dominic, and a good driver and team runner in his own time. But Horst tells me that this car has no third gear. They're keeping everything crossed. The idea is now for Dominic just to really go slowly, but of course, obviously maintain that lead so they don't have to make a pit stop. They have 8 laps currently on the Panos, but of course, you never know what might jingle around in that box and suddenly jam everything up. So they're really on tenterhooks down here at the 83 car.
Of course, you always wonder if you've lost third gear, where did you lose it to and what's it going to do?
It's lying around in there somewhere. Indeed. Or bits of it are.
As Andrew correctly pointed out there, 8 laps the lead margin for this car over the Panos. So they've got plenty of advantage going into the final stint of this race.
But an hour and a half with gear pieces floating around is not promising, believe me.
Bit of a hold up here. And this is a fabulous day for Corvette. While there are mixed feelings in that garage and mixed fortunes, to say the least, let's not lose sight that that hat trick is on the way for Ollie Gavin, Olivier Beretta, and Jan Magnussen. Time for a break. When we come back, Bob Varsha will be in the chair to take you to the checkered flag. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Le Mans, entering the final 90 minutes of our live speed coverage of the 74th Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha with David Hobbs and Dorsey Schrader up high. Just saw the Corvette pull out into pit lane, and there is the race-leading Audi R10 flashing past. Here's a look at our class leaders with the time remaining, as you see, less than 90 minutes now. The Biela Pirro Werner car has been basically bulletproof throughout the entire race. Unlike their teammates, still the number 7 car runs in 3rd place after a long 24 hours, sandwiching the crowd favorites from Pescarolo Judd. In P2, Andy Wallace stands to rack up another Le Mans victory, this one in class, sharing with Thomas Erdos and Mike Newton in their Lola 4-cylinder turbo. Andy Lally of the United States in the 2nd place car, the 27. They have had their problems as well. This race is far from over for all of the names you'll see here on your screen. In the GT1 class, the amazing story of Corvette bouncing back in the late hours at Le Mans once again to top the ProDrive Aston Martin. The 009 car actually led that class up until about an hour ago when a clutch problem put them in the garage. They now run 8th overall and out of a podium position in class. Oliver Gavin is in the car right now in the lead position. And in GT2, that 83 Porsche, we understand, may have some mechanical problems on the horizon.
Actually, it's being shown stopped at a Marshall station out on the racetrack.
Whoops.
So it might be a bad moment for the Farnbacher Porsche.
Here's Alan McNish. in the RT10 twin-turbo diesel that he started the race in. Put on pole by his teammate Ronaldo Capello. Of the 50 starters, 23 are now officially retired, including 2 of the American-based team, Peterson White Lightning Racing, after contact with the wall in a chicane during the night, and the Multimatic Panos. The team is still scratching their heads over how they managed to run that car out of fuel on course. 7 other U.S.-based American Le Mans Series teams still out there, including the boys from Corvette Racing.
Well, we wondered how long those gearbox bits would be before they jumped up and did something. I'm afraid to think that that's exactly probably what happened to Dominic Farnbacher. He's pulled off the circuit, and he's on the outside. He's actually just past Arnage on that straightaway, and that's a long way from here.
Well, the next car up will be the Panos in the hands of Richard Dean. They have completed 300 laps, the 83.306, so everybody's going to be watching the timing screens as the number 83 cycle Porsche cycles backwards. And what a thing it would be for Don Panos on the weekend of his 10th anniversary at Le Mans, given the Spirit of Le Mans award for contributions to the sport, and now he has a chance to see one of his cars win.
Wow, and then the Ferrari, the number 87 Ferrari would then end up second, which is another 9 laps back, and Von Overbeck in the 80 Porsche, which had a very checkered race, would end up third.
On board with Ron Fellows, flashing under the Dunlop Bridge.
Getting some good onboards now. This is through the S's. Now you rejoin the old track through that last bit of S. Run down to Tête Rouge, which is now sort of a double apex right-hander. A very quick corner now. It used to be much more of a right-hander than that, a right angle than that. Run down those trees that have been there for 60-odd years. Didn't used to be any guardrail in front of them in the old days, just straw bale and paint the bottom of the trees white.
And Andrea Boccini being called in the 007 Aston Martin, currently running second in class to the other Corvette as you watch Ron Fellows in the office.
And I personally wonder, when Ron got in the car for this final stint, if it would be his final stint here in Le Mans. It's been conjecture about his retiring.
I thought about that too when I saw him hugging everybody in sight, shaking hands with his co-drivers. It definitely had a look of, it's been fun, boys.
Only Ron knows that answer to that question. He's not made any announcement, but
we've talked through the 24 hours about this Corvette group and the camaraderie, the family atmosphere. Before the race ever began, they all wandered down a few garages to the ProDrive Aston Martin garages, and there were high fives all around there before the race ever started, saying, okay, guys, let's get after it, and may the better team win.
Ron made a curious comment last night, too, when we were talking about air conditioning of these vets, and he said that if he had an air-conditioned one, it might extend my career. So we don't know. We don't know what's going.
There's the Aston Martin team awaiting Piccini. Meanwhile, Chris Neville can fill us in on the 83 Porsche.
Bob, not a lot of information down here because the team says they cannot communicate with the 83 car right now. It is currently outside of radio range. So they're trying to talk to Porsche, have them look at the telemetry on the car, see if they can see anything on their computers, because right now they have no communication with that car. Just might have to go back to one of Dorsey's pieces earlier on what kind of equipment they have in the car. I asked the team, did they have a cell phone? They said no. Right now we have no idea what's going on.
That would have been nice. No, nice to have a cell phone because it's an 8-mile circuit.
Right.
You know.
Or maybe €100 note so that you can borrow somebody or buy it from them on the other side of the fence. So we could see a late race change in the GT2 class leadership. We'll stay on that story and be back with more. And Speed's continuing live coverage from Le Mans. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Le Mans. Coming up after our speed coverage of the 74th Michelin 24 hours, NASCAR Race Day, setting you up for Sunday in NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing. So be sure to stand by. Race Day coming up next here on Speed after Le Mans. There you see the time remaining, 1 minute 18, and perhaps more importantly, the temperature 30 degrees Celsius, about 87 degrees. And there's the number 83, the former GT1, well, still class-leading Porsche. That cycle Porsche being pushed behind the wall. That was just a few minutes ago. There it sits parked. Can't tell. The driver appears to be in the car, but obviously he's not working on the gearbox at the back. And we are just waiting now. The second place car is a Panos in the hands of Richard Dean for Great Britain. who is now just 5 laps behind that Porsche for the GT2 class leadership.
What a day that'll be, huh, for that Panthers to come up there. Independent team coming through.
Get the champagne back out of the refrigerator, boys. There's the Flying Lizard crew from the United States. Boy, they have worked hard in this 24 hours. Johannes van Overbreek had his bicycle crash. The story we are told is that it was one of those Alphonse and Gaston routines where he's riding his bike up. A gate guard jumped out in front of him. Johannes went one way. The gate guard went that way. Van Overbeek went the other way. The gate guard went that way. Bottom line, Van Overbeek heads for the hospital with stitches. Patrick Long ran the car in qualifying. Seth Neiman has driven as well. And there they sit, getting all shined up for the final hour here at Le Mans. Currently running 18th overall and 4th in class. Patrick Long has been thrashing that car, trying to close a 3-lap gap and perhaps reach the podium at the expense of a Ferrari 430 GT in the hands of Chris Niarchos, a Greek-born Canadian, an experienced endurance competitor. They are still at least 5 seconds a lap faster, but they're going to need to pick up the speed considerably if they're going to get to that 3rd and final spot on the podium. There are the Pro Drive boys.
Obviously here they're about to do a pit stop. We see some tires being set out for the Aston. So they're anticipating the car coming back in. We're looking at the long straightaway. The Pescarolo's running together.
The 2 car that we're looking at is running way down the field. That's the Zytek, and it's down in a 26th spot. 262 laps in the book. Unfortunately, leader's got 359, so it's some way off the pace. Is our number 2 car. Driven at the moment by Philip Anderson from Denmark. Everybody in this car's from Denmark, including John Nielsen, who we spoke to earlier on. Kasper Elgaard from Denmark. Just got a V8 4-litre engine, Zytek engine, but not their day today. And as John Nielsen said in his little talk, that it's a pretty new car, and they probably shouldn't have come. But as he said, until you come and start and try and do something, you know, it's kind of hard to get the development done. But obviously, the car is not ready for Le Mans yet.
Well, the LMP2 class isn't ready for Le Mans yet,
well.
as that, you know, they're built so light that they're a bit frail, and right now what you have is the walking wounded. Everybody taking their turn, fixing whatever problem they have back in the pit area, losing time to the other one. Of
course, the LMP2 car that everybody's talking about is the LMP2 Porsche that Roger Penske runs in the States, which won, or came first and second in the Mid-Ohio round just a few weeks back. And will that appear here next year? Don't know. Will Porsche want to be running a strong second to Audi, or a strong third to Audi and possibly Peugeot?
Well, there's certain places that LMP2 Porsche can win overall, as we've already seen it beat the Audi, but I don't think Le Mans
I don't think this is one of them. No.
will be the one that gets the job done.
Let's look at Frenchman Nick Manassian in the Pescarolo. We are on board now with an Audi, and it appears that Tom Kristensen's incredible string of 6 consecutive overall victories here at Le Mans will come to an end today, but he remains the race's ultimate champion. Earlier this weekend, I had an opportunity to sit down with Tom and get his perspective on his phenomenal success at this great race.
Tom, I want to take you back a year to this race last year. You win your record-breaking 7th Le Mans, and you come up on that podium, and I'm sure you've seen the television pictures. Sea of faces turned up and cheering. What went through your mind when you stepped out there on the podium?
A lot of things goes through your mind. It's a peak experience in your life. And obviously, yes, my little mind, but there's so much energy, so many people involved in having a victory at Le Mans. And last year, obviously, for Champion Racing, bringing the American flag back on top was a unique experience. It's like anything in life. If you can't share it with anyone, then then success doesn't mean a lot.
So was that race perhaps the most special of the 7 victories for you here?
I have a phrase saying that you can't choose between your children, can you? And but without the first, the others wouldn't come probably. And 97 was the first time I I really noticed the importance of the race by being here. I've not been here before. That was 1 week before the race. There was the rain in 2001. There was a traditional make driving with Bentley in 2003. But obviously last year, from what we had to do and from where we came from, and it was a real classic fight in a way. So it's the one I remember the most, I would say. But all are very important to me, and I have a lot of nuances and from all the races.
How has your life changed since you won Le Mans for the 7th time? Has there been a difference in your life back home and on the road?
Things has changed, but probably not as it will maybe even later. I don't know. But if you look back in the history, you know how much it means to be here, and you feel it when you're here. And I enjoy being here. And obviously, I'm aware of that. But we are in here with a new program. We're with a diesel engine, the TDI. And I'm here for a reason, and that's what I'm concentrating on. But for sure, I feel recognized, I feel respected, and of course, these are things I've fighted for since I was a little kid doing go-karts.
You're 38 years old now. How long do you see yourself doing this?
You know, I love motorsport, I love racing. That's what brought the motivation and brought me here in the first place. I still love to be a part of this process, of this unique atmosphere it is to be with real men in the racing world, and I love that. So I can't put any figures on. I can easily say 5 years, because that means that in 2 years' time you will have forgotten the answer.
Tom Kristensen, a great guy. And we don't want to make it sound like his career is over, but guys, in this era of self-absorbed athletes, I can't think of anybody this side of Sebastian Loeb who had more press attention coming into this weekend and more pressure on him than Tom Kristensen, and yet he could not have been more gracious. There you see the numbers. 7 victories.
Of course, in one of those shots in the background, we saw Michele Alboreto, who tragically lost his life in the development of the Audi R8 in testing crash, and obviously a huge part of that team. And is remembered.
Well, of course, it's a huge team effort to win here. There's no doubt about it. Everybody's got to do their part. But just look at that, 0.778% winning. I mean, 7 out of 9 he's won. But I think the other thing that we lose sight of, in America, you know, there's hundreds of sports heroes because there's 300 million people live there. Can you imagine how Tom Kristensen is treated in Denmark, which has got a population of a couple of million? I mean, he is going to be right there at the top of their whole social elite. I mean, he is going to be one of the #1 people in the whole country.
I think I read somewhere recently that he has been voted several times the most popular personality in Denmark. And the candidates included the Danish royal family. Nevertheless, a good day developing for Audi, and we'll be back with more live in a moment. The city of Le Mans is about a 3-hour drive southwest of Paris, and but for auto racing, it would be just another obscure French town. But back in 1906, the Automobile Club of the Sarthe was formed to organize the first race to be known as a Grand Prix. Over the years, the name of the club would change to Automobile Club de l'Ouest, or ACO, and its concept of Grand Prix racing would evolve into what we now know as Formula One. But it was the club's 24-hour race, first run in 1923, that would become what we now know as one of the greatest events in motorsports, attracting a crowd in the hundreds of thousands and a television audience in the millions. Which begs the question, what is it about Le Mans? For some, it's the circuit itself, which was and remains made up almost entirely of public roads, open to traffic the rest of the year, road racing in its original form, and despite the introduction of 2 chicanes in 1990 to slow the signature 3-mile Mulsanne straight, it is still breathtakingly fast. For others, it's the cars. 4 different classes, 2 for prototypes and 2 for production-based machines, 50 examples of state-of-the-art engineering, with 27 different chassis and engine combinations from 11 different countries. Then there's the driver lineup. More than 20 nationalities represented, from disciplines including Formula One, World Rally, and sports car series across the world. There is the spectacle, unlike anything else in racing. From the starting grid to the opening blast toward the famous Dunlop Bridge, the glare of headlights in the darkness, the tension of the pits, and the fact that all of this happens, rain or shine. And of course, there is the Carnival, the ultimate car culture family reunion that goes at full throttle throughout the weekend. But whatever the reason, it's clear that there is nothing else in racing like Le Mans. So, joyeux anniversaire. Happy 100th to the ACO, and enjoy the 74th running of the 24 Hours, about to send another group of worthy champions to this podium. And it's been a record year in this 100th anniversary for the ACO. An official tally of 235,000 spectators on the property. And you see what goes into this event. 1,800 marshals working as volunteers, as they do back in the United States. 200 medical personnel. An enormous number of international press attention, and the grounds of the ACO contain its own shorter circuit known as the Bugatti circuit that hosts a number of events, including, believe it or not, a 24-hour race for motorcycles.
Not for me, Bubba.
Lots of vintage competition, and check this out. The best place to be at the end, of course, is right under the podium. And folks are beginning to edge their way down there. Wait till you see the pit lane when this is over. Now, recall that the 83 Porsche was stranded on course. It continues to plummet down the leaderboard. It is now one lap from being usurped as class champion. And now it flashes up on the leaderboard that the 83 is rolling again. So this story is far from over. Chris Neville, can you update us?
Well, Bob, still getting a little bit of communication from the team. The problem is the car's so far out there that they don't have radio contact. But initially, when everything went down, the team sent some mechanics out to the racetrack, and they did find out that the shifter broke on the 83 car. So what those mechanics did is they instructed Dominic how to engage the transmission and limp the car back to pit lane. It sounds like right now the 83 machine is limping back to pit lane. Once he gets here, the team is set to put in a new shifter. I think we're showing it on our camera right here. And if they can get that new shifter in, they're hoping that they can still maintain the lead. But what was a 4-lap lead down to 1 lap right now.
Oh, man.
Here he comes.
We've told this story. This car was the 3rd alternate for the field. But when a space became available in the invitation-only field of 50, of the 2 cars ahead of them, one was heavily crashed. Another one could not be prepared in time for the race. Bingo, boys, you're in the show. And there is the bright orange Panos, the Panos Esperante, that will come around while that Porsche is being attended to and take over the GT2 class lead.
Well, the Porsche is just coming out of the Mulsanne corner on the way down to Indianapolis, and ultimately the Porsche curves.
Oh, and it just lost something at the
Porsche
back.
Was just in the, I think it was a big lump of rubber.
No, he's got something up the back end of that car.
Yeah, look at it.
Oh, wow.
It looks like maybe the bead has come off the tire, but that couldn't be right because the tire would immediately go flat.
Now it's actually, I don't know if it's picked up. And
and the 83 stops again.
Where is he? The Porsche curve. That is on the exit of the Porsche curve. That is a decidedly dodgy place to stop. If he can't move it, that might bring out a safety car.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. There's Luke Alfan. Talk about great athletes making a crossover. Luke Alfan, former World Cup overall downhill and Super G champion, has crossed over to motorsports in the biggest possible way. A class winner in the Dakar Rally, and now in his 6th Le Mans 24 Hours with a shot at a podium. No, he does not. I don't think they'll catch the Austin.
Piece of debris gone. Whatever he had picked up, it was stuck on the back of that Panos, is exited. And that car's about, somewhere, exactly. There is the parked 83.
And once again, the corner workers go right in harm's way.
And here's the pass for
there
the lead.
Goes the Panos.
Oh, no.
All that effort, all that work, an hour to go.
There is your new class leader. Tom Kimber-Smith is 21 years of age in his first Le Mans start. His teammate Richard Dean, currently behind the wheel, 41 years of age in his first Le Mans start. Their teammate Lawrence Tomlinson has not finished close to the podium in the past, so it would be a first Le Mans victory for the entire group. But oh my gosh, what goes through your mind when Le Mans slips away like this?
I think that was actually getting on the same lap, so it's not over with yet.
I can tell
8 miles
exactly
around.
what goes through your mind.
Okay, 4 minutes premature, so what?
I ran this race in 1972 with Jean-Pierre Jabouille, who I ran into just down the hall here. He's doing French TV. And he and I drove a Matra, and we lay second for 16 hours. And Margaret and I walked up to the Welcome Club to watch it and welcome in. And with 20 minutes to go, the car didn't appear, and he was down at Mulsanne, just where we saw the 83 car, also with a gearbox problem.
There you see the replacement shifter.
And it's not hard to put that on, Bob. It's actually an easy
That was
fix.
my next question. How long does it take?
It doesn't take long at all, but the problem is that he's stuck down there a quarter mile from pit in.
Now, you saw the guy with the Porsche shirt on. I think that may have been one of the Porsche factory technicians. They bring this amazing vehicle stocked with every possible replacement part you could need, and he may be giving a quick tutorial in that exchange.
I don't know what kind of toolbox. We'd had a piece of toolboxes, and I don't know what he's got for his toolbox, but if he could get a screwdriver jammed down in there, get a hold of the shift rod and get a good tug and get it into any kind of gear.
Well, he must have had it in A gear, but I can't imagine why it would drop out again.
Well, it swivels on those two little aluminum pieces right there, and it hooks on the bottom, and there's not much to put in it on there, and it's hooked to a rod. Of course, it goes back to the gearbox, and if he can just get a hold of that rod and shove it in, he should catch a gear.
And this wire goes down on the other side of the tunnel. So the other side of the tunnel. You'll see it about your hands went down.
I assume he's talking to the driver now. Must be in radio range.
Yeah. Well, or the crew, so they can relay it. That's why having a driver engineer like Mark Donohue must have been so great, because he could probably take the car apart and put it together.
Well, yeah, it really helps to have some mechanical knowledge on these cars to be able to fix these problems on this endurance event.
You've got to have the kit to do it, though, of course.
Yeah, you have to have some pieces.
009's halfway to the goal. They got one set of headlights working. I guess that's the minimum. And there, in a moment or two, will be your new GT2 class leader.
Coming down to Mulsanne. Sweeps through the double apex right-hander. That's where he used to get the signaling, from behind that guardrail. Moved it back to the pit area now.
Until very recently, they used to do signaling out there, even in the day of radio transmissions.
Which we just saw doesn't work all the way around the 8 mile.
Exactly. Bet he wish he had that pit board back out there.
Got it going again. Here he comes. Boy, I mean, he can't be very far. Oh, no. Now when he goes by, it really will be to take the position.
Okay, he's in the pit lane.
This is going to be a thrash to get that in.
This ought to be fun watching the mechanics dive on this. Now, remember, the rules allow only 4 mechanics out there in the pit lane. They may just take it in the garage.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, it's not a lengthy repair. It's just a matter of getting to it.
Right. And the clock is ticking. Coming up on 56 minutes remaining in the race.
I think they're going to do it right there on pit lane.
That's right, Dorsey. They're not going to move this car back into the garage. This should be a real quick fix by just watching what the Porsche technicians were doing. You know, it just looks like it's going to be 2 bolts here that they should be able to get this in. So 1 mechanic in the car. Doesn't look like there's going to be any refueling or anything. They were saying that the car should be good to go. And now it just depends on where that Panos is going to be on the racetrack when this car gets rolling again. And is there enough time? Can they catch that car? The Panos hasn't been that fast in the last couple hours. Well, this car still, this team says the car is still very strong. And we've seen Dominic win a lot of races over the years. He just won the 24 Hours of Daytona back in 2005, so he knows how to get it done.
Panos is on the front straightaway. Will be passing right
there he
now.
Is. Coming across the line, as we saw with Corvette over Aston Martin, now we see Panos move by perhaps the most decorated mark in Le Mans history. Porsche has been usurped in GT2.
Oh, boy, this is going to be a race.
Boy, they've got bits hanging off everywhere there, but it's all cosmetic. The mechanicals are running fine, all right?
For young Richard Dean, they're on the radio to him. You better get the pedal on the metal, buddy.
That's right.
This is a fast car coming.
The guy in the car isn't your fastest.
Problems in the race themselves, so they may not be able to put the pedal to the metal too much.
Who's your fastest driver? Get him in there.
That's the hardest thing about this. At the last hour, we're under 1 hour to go. These cars are tired. They're worn out. Drivers are tired. It's a bad time to have to push a car to the limit, isn't it?
Richard Dean has got to be. I can't believe Richard Dean's 41. It doesn't seem 5 minutes to me since he's He's the son of Tony Dean, who did some Can-Am racing back in the late 60s and early 70s. And when Richard first burst on the scene, he was super quick Formula 4 driver. Looked like he was going to make it up to Formula 1 possibly. He was very, very quick, but never had the real opportunity. So I know that he is a very quick and steady driver. Still waiting for his Formula 1 drive.
Yeah, well, that Panos is a half a lap away from the pits now, so he's got a half a lap in the book somewhere in that area. And they're still working on getting the old lever out.
Well, I know you kept saying how easy it was to put that one in, but of course, if the old one's broken off in there,
that's a good point.
It's not that
you don't know what the problem is, right?
You don't know what's broken down there.
Yeah, if you've broken a bolt off in there, for instance, it's a whole different story.
And that electrical connection may be the most important part of the thing.
I'm sure
if you've got, you know, shifting assist through
for the sequential shift
through the ECU, right?
Yeah, exactly. Clutch.
All your blipping, all your matching of revs and so forth,
all done through that little electrical connector.
This is why racing is the ultimate reality show. You don't rehearse this. Chris.
Well, guys, Dorsey, you were right. It was taking a little bit longer to get that old lever out of there, but right now the new lever is in. They've got to tighten up 2 bolts here. They're tightening up the last bolt, so hopefully this car will get going, but obviously this took longer than they had expected, and Panos probably has at least half a lap on the 83 car by now.
Just coming through Mulsanne, headed toward Indianapolis.
With 52 minutes remaining, that's going to be a long way to catch up.
But as the famous movie line goes, day ain't over yet.
Well, the last lap that Panos did was a 4 minutes 24. The Porsche can probably do like 4:11s.
Yeah, well, young Dominic's got the adrenaline flowing now. You can bet on that, having sat there that long. He'll be pumped up to the max.
And we know Dominic Farnbacher's quick because he passed me and Calvin on the way in this morning in our diesel Opel. Farnbacher passed us in his Porsche going like grease lightning, so we know his blood's up.
Farnbacher and Cycle are separate teams the balance of the year. And there are so many ways teams come together in order to pick up one of the coveted invitations to be a part of the field of 50 at Le Mans. Guys who race each other the rest of the year will come together in a single team, as Alex Job Racing did with the Peterson White Lightning boys to win GT2 a few years ago, as Tracy Crone Racing did with White Lightning this year, unsuccessfully. Meanwhile, back at the race lead, here comes Marco Werner. Final pit stop for the remarkable Audi R10 diesel. Calvin.
Marco Werner brings the car in. This should be the final scheduled pit stop of the day. He has gone for 2 consecutive, and Pirro is jumping in, hoping to see his 4th victory here at Le Mans. And what a payback this is for Biela and Pirro. Remember, they did not finish at Sebring, and that really affected if they would be able to defend their American Le Mans Series championship from last year. And Capello won there. They effectively were elected to take the R8 to the next rounds and go for the championship. Pirro and Biela had to sit out, so this would really be great if they could come back here with this R10 and capture another Le Mans victory. And Werner has just done a tremendous job. Last night in the 4th hour of the race, he took 30 seconds off Capello in the sister car and has just been flying here this weekend. Routine stop. They're underway, looking for another checkered flag, Bob.
That they are, Calvin, and there's an interesting dynamic going on here as well. As you take a look at the distance record in terms of laps, the record was 379 laps by Gijs van Lennep and Helmut Marko in 1971 in a Porsche 917. Right now, that car, the number 8 Audi, is on pace to turn 379 laps, but because today's race course is slightly shorter, it appears they will not reach the ultimate distance covered record of 3,315 miles set back in 71. Plenty of drama still to come. Less than 50 minutes to go. Welcome back live to Le Mans, the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans here on Speed. I'm Bob Varsha with David Hobbs and Dorsey Schrader. Brian Till, Calvin Fish, and Chris Neville are in the pit lane. And there is the new leader in the LMGT2 category, Richard Dean, in the LNT Panos Esperante. And there is the previous class leader, the number 83 Cycle Motorsport Porsche 911 GT3 RSR.
Which is less than half a lap behind now. And we'll get a time on him for the first time, his first flying lap pass here now. Dean's last flying lap in the Panos was a 4 minutes 20 seconds. Here's young Farnbacher.
Just 21 years of age. Fourth in class in a similar car at the Rolex 24 at Daytona this year. Also raced at Sebring at the beginning of the American Le Mans Series.
He's more like 3/4 of a lap behind, really, yeah, because meanwhile Panos is down well into the Porsche curve, so really he's not much more. Yeah, the Panos must be round about by 10 crews now.
Very slow going through Mulsanne there. We know that they lost, what was it, third gear?
Yeah, they were talking about having no third gear, and then it broke that shift lever. There still might be more problems on that than what we know.
Kind of slow through that chicane was the Panos, but they may just trying to keep body and soul together to the finish. Chris Neville.
Well, Bob, the drama is building in GT2. The Panos team has just let me know that they have to come back in for fuel. So that right there most likely is going to chop off at least a minute of time. The big question is, Dorsey, do you think they're going to go for tires? If this thing comes down to a battle, wouldn't you want a new set of tires? Is 10 seconds worth it?
Well, it depends on how much fuel they need to get in there. I mean, if you could put the tires on at the same level without losing time to the fuel, I would want the tires most definitely, but I don't think they'll be that far from the end of the course.
40 minutes to go. Change tires. And you got to put fuel in at a separate time. I think I was nuts.
Yeah, I would just go with the splash, I think, unless you've got issues.
Splash of fuel and get going ASAP.
Particularly if you think that there might not be a third gear in the Farnbacher car on top of it.
Exactly. Push him. Make him go as hard as he can. As you watch the 22 making its way back on track, boy, those guys have had a rough 24 hours as well. It's the Roll Center Racing Radical chassis with a Judd V8.
Done very well. I mean, it's on one of a kind. It's their first attempt at making a car of this size.
The MG Lola here has come to light yet again, or come to life yet again. We're not sure who's in it because they don't seem to have plugged in their transponder, but he's cranking out some pretty good laps. His last lap was a 3:55.
We'll take a look at the helmet and see. We'll know if it's Andy Wallace. That's the easiest one. Taking a look at Dr. Ulrich, head of the Audi Racing program.
He doesn't look very tense, does he?
Yeah, I look pretty relaxed, actually.
When you consider the resources that Audi has put into this project, the massive number of guests and press attention they've drawn upon themselves, it's just, you can't afford not to succeed.
Well, I was in the hospitality suite for lunch, and they do about 400. They got 400 credentials for there. They do 3 meals a day, so that's 4,800 a day for about 6 days, because the crew get here early and they use it as well. So that's a lot of meals.
Lots of millions of dollars. Euros, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Millions.
Which is even worse.
And remember, we'll be seeing these cars in the hands of the ADS champion team in the American Le Mans Series later this year.
They actually go to training next week for the cars. Brad Kettler and his boys take a week off to learn the R10.
There has been more said about the sound this thing makes since Parnelli Jones turned up at Indianapolis with a turbine.
Cameraman, just looking at the same thing I was looking at out of the booth window here. It is definitely clouding up, but I'm sure it will rain, but I don't think it'll rain before the end of the race, but it'll probably rain when they're just trying to clear everything up. It's even worse for the crew.
Nothing like a racetrack that's been through a 24-hour event and a cloudburst comes and washes everything into the gutters. Calvin Fish.
Here with Marco Werner. Marco, what a day you're having thus far. We know it's not over yet, but the car has performed brilliantly for you guys today.
Everything is fine. Just the track is not in the best condition, so the lap times drops down a lot. That's why we drove just 40s. But the car is running very well, so a good day for Audi, I hope so. A long 40 minutes. But in a moment, everything is clear. Car is running fine. Gearbox, everything. You know what you hear now, everything, gearbox, engine, everything is fine. That's it.
Talk about the difference between this race today and the one from last year, where you didn't have the fastest car and you had that Pescarolo coming at you at 4 or 5 seconds a lap and you were just trying to hang on.
Also today, we have the best car. Last year we haven't the quickest car, but still the best car. The good old lady, the R8, but now with the new generation, with the R10 TDI, new technology, diesel engine, I mean, it's brilliant to have, okay, bring it to the finish, but if we bring it to the finish, that's brilliant. So the different, of course, new generation, everything was more nervous, I think. So, and we see also a lot of trouble. But we had less trouble than the other ones, and that's a good thing. So Audi's still the best, that's okay.
All right, mate, great job, and fingers crossed for you.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Calvin. As I said,
that's the story down here in the Audi pit. I do want to give a shout out to our mate, JJ Leto. He won here last year with champion. We're hoping to see you back next year, JJ. Stay with us, we'll be back from Le Mans.
Effectivement, là, sur devant le stand, il a changé les pneumatiques, peut-être.
Welcome back to the 74th running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The Panos, the GT2 lead car, is in pit lane. They are taking fuel right now. He's got a 3-minute lead on the second place car, the 83 Porsche that had problems. It looked like they were possibly going to take tires. The team rolled tires out, but now it just looks like fuel. But Richard Dean now having problems restarting the car. A little bit of a problem restarting the car there. That cost him an additional 10 seconds. So between that minute in pit lane, another 10 seconds there, his lead has probably dropped down to about 1:40.
And we'll be watching it all the way to the finish now, just a little less than 37 minutes away. After 23.5 hours of hard racing, it has come down to this in GT2. And you really cannot fault them for not changing tires, because under Le Mans rules, you cannot work on the car and fuel at the same time. It would simply take too long to do a complete service.
Going through the top of the Dunlop Bridge there, you got an idea of what Marco Werner meant about the track in bad condition. Did you see all that rolled up rubber and clag and stuff? I mean, cheapest.
We have had
you wouldn't want to get offline, that's for dead sure.
A few safety car periods, but they never sent the sweepers out. I think that might have helped a bit.
Tremendous amount of everything out there, like you say, David.
Gravel down there where they keep running across all these gravel. You don't see rubber on the left there, on that apex, how it's all swept to the inside there.
Bob, I agree with you. I think that was the right call. I would not have taken tires on that car. There's just not enough time.
Not in a situation like this.
You know, you got a 3-minute lead, and and he lost some of it to that non-restarting issue. That Porsche is going to be faster. There's no doubt about it, but he's going to have to catch me.
Well, their last 2 time laps were dead even. They both did a 4:22. The Porsche did the Panos did a 4:22.9. Farnbacher did a 4:22.49. So.
And while we watch this Panos in action, I want to get back to something about that Audi team. We heard Marco Werner a moment ago saying how smoothly things are going. We've been hearing from the team that there is some nervousness on the part of these drivers who have accomplished so much together. But Frank Biela is now 41 years of age. Emanuele Pirro is 44. Marco Werner is 40. Dindo Capello is 41. These guys are getting on in years. And do you prize experience over perhaps outright speed? This win will mean a lot to Marco Werner, Frank Biela, and Emanuele Pirro if they get it. Now, you just saw the 83 crossing start finish. There you see the Panos out on the straightaway.
And of course, those drivers will be even more worried than they would have been normally, because the Peugeot coming next year will bound to have a really top flight lineup for drivers.
Here's a great statistic for you, looking at this Panos. That car and that team has made the fewest pit stops of any car in this entire race, and that's why it's leading more than likely. They spent less time in the pits than anyone.
20 pit stops for the team. Compare, if you will, to the Pescarolo Judd, now driven by Sebastian Loeb in second place. 31 pit stops so far. Doesn't matter how you get there. The idea is to get there, to the finish, perhaps to win at Le Mans. We'll be back.
31 stops.
Back live at Le Mans, the Corvette Racing team goes to work. Fueling complete for the final time at the 74th running, the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. And now a new set of Michelin tires will go on. Oliver Gavin at the controls. And this car appears poised to pick up its third successive GT1 class victory at Le Mans. Brian Till's down there.
23 and a half hours down, 30 minutes to go, Bob. They did take on new Michelin tires just to be sure. Full tank of fuel, and Gavin looking for victory yet again here at Le Mans.
I'm a little surprised they took the tires because, you know, you always run the risk of jamming the nut on like we saw before. And obviously with 30 minutes left in the race, they could have done without that extra, you know,
risk.
Yeah. One more thing.
Well, yet another strategy. And as Brian just mentioned, we are inside 30 minutes to go here on Speed. So let's give you a comprehensive look at the highlights of the race thus far. In Le Mans Prototype 1, Audis across the front row. Alan McNish and Frank Biela leading away, while Jan Magnussen in that black and white dome jet comes sneaking up the inside for third. Later on, McNish gave way to the man who put the number 7 on pole, Dindo Capelli, but right there he caught a slower LMP2 car in the chicane and almost tore the bottom off the car.
Did a lot of damage.
A lot of problems for the Pescarolo Judd team. The 16 car in the garage for a long time, the 17 once in the kitty litter. Problems also for the 7 car. McNish waiting while the fuel injection is replaced. They also had turbo problems. Meanwhile, the teammates in the 8 car, clean and green all the way. They've led almost the entire race distance. There's an Audi, but this is about GT1. Johnny O'Connell in the Corvette. He's trying to get out of the way of the race leader, and bang! An early bump in the road for the Corvette boys. He got the car turned around, but they have had problems all day. That gave Aston Martin an opening, but the 007 car quickly developed a fuel leak early Saturday. They have spent a lot of time in the garage. That left it up to the sister 009 and the 64 Corvette. They stayed basically within a lap of each other through much of the night, but on this single pit stop, the Corvette was a little slow. The Aston got out ahead, but then this morning the clutch let go on the 009, and they have fallen to 4th in class. There is the 64 crossing the line with 009 still in the garage, and that put Oliver Gavin, Olivier Beretta, and Jan Magnussen in position for their 3rd straight win. Doug Feehan, the program manager, loves it. Ron Fellows hugging everyone in sight. We wonder about whether this may be the final hurrah for Fellows. In GT2, the Peterson White Lightning boys have had their share of problems, often in that same set of corners leading up to the Dunlop Bridge. You saw them off into the gravel and taking out the pylons. The 83 cycle Porsche, originally an alternate for this race, moved into the lead early in the nighttime hours and held it most of the way, and then gearbox problems opened the door for the LNT Panos, which now leads the class. In Le Mans Prototype 2, this Weltner Racing Peugeot early on Saturday took flight and dug a huge divot. That was Francois Auchard. And in the 16th hour, things got considerably worse as the car caught fire and basically burned itself apart. But that wasn't the most spectacular moment in the class. How about Yann Claret in the Belmondo car, losing the right rear tire, almost clearing the fence. A very scary accident of the same part of the run from Mulsanne down to Indianapolis, where Joe Bonnier sadly lost his life in a crash years ago. Also started a brief fire, but that was that. The American-based teams have been doing very well. The 27 car looked good, currently runs in 3rd place in class, does Miracle Motorsports. The dominant car, the 25 of Andy Wallace and teammates, currently leading. In between them, the Binny Motorsports crew. So American-based teams running 2nd and 3rd in LMP2 as we go into our final 30 minutes. And there is the number 17, Pescarolo Judd. The hopes were so great among the French multitudes here at Le Mans that they could, for the first time in 16 years, see a French team, a French flag waved from the podium. It appears they have come so close, just 4 laps off the lead, but they are in 2nd. So the French flag will go up, but not to the highest point on the pole. We'll take a break and return live to Le Mans in a moment. Welcome back live to Le Mans. Less than 24 minutes to go, and take a close look at the 83 cycle Porsche. 21-year-old Dominic Farnbacher has taken it off track and dinged the left rear in a pretty comprehensive way.
Of course, he's trying to catch the Panos for the win, running hard, but look at the wing. I want you to pay attention to the corner of the wing. It's bent up. We'll take a replay of what happened. It's a very fast part of the racetrack, David.
Oops, we got to that just a little late. He has already hit the... He kept the right side off the wall, just got it with the left rear corner. But as you mentioned, Dorsey, he managed to take that wing right up. Let's run it reverse and bang, there you see it. Actually, more of a rearward
down
impact.
out the S's on the way down to Terre Rouge. He must have looped it to...
The wing is the most dangerous part of that whole equation, because now if that wing falters and fails, and he loses all that downforce at the back at once.
Looks like the strut is not badly damaged. Well, look at it porpoising. Oh, there goes the end plate. Now, is that porpoising at the rear?
Is about to fall off too soon.
Yeah.
Plus, it's got that big scoop. It's got a lot of aerodynamic drag with that rear bumper cover hanging out the side.
There's the number 16, Pescarolo Judd. Currently shown 5th. Now, those guys were once 38th in this field after a litany of problems. And they have come forward. Currently shown 5th. Audi, Pescarolo, Audi, Corvette, the GT1 leader, now up in the 4th overall. Then this car, the 16 Pescarolo Judd, and then the 2nd place GT1 car. Let's go to Chris Neville.
Bob just checked in with the Siegel-Farnbacher group, and when I initially came down to ask them if they were going to be bringing the car in, they didn't even know that there was a problem. Still, they have communication problems with that car, so they finally saw it on our video. They realized there is some significant damage there, but since Dominic has no radio contact with the team, unless he comes in on his own, he's going to be staying out till the checker.
How many times do we see that happen? The pit reporter goes to the team saying, what are you going to do about that damage? They say, what damage?
Yeah, I tell you what, now he doesn't have radio communication, we know that.
They do have signal boards, though.
Yeah, if they don't bring him in, he'll be the only one that knows what that feels like, that car feels like. Now in Trans Am days, when I knock my bumper cover off like that, I try to go find one of my buddies to rub it off on.
Just go lean on him on the racetrack?
Yeah, just go fix the dent that you put in there on somebody else.
You do sometimes talk rubbish.
We want to wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day. Of our number, our own Greg Kramer is sharing his Father's Day weekend with his daughter Brittany.
And also his birthday.
And also his birthday. Greg won't be with us the balance of the way here on the show. He wanted us to wish you all a fond farewell, and he hopes you've enjoyed it as much as we have. This is simply the kind of event we live for here at Speed, and this has been another terrific race. Yes, there hasn't been as much wheel-to-wheel as some purists expect in racing, but this is road racing. This is about strategy and persistence and adaptability.
And it's about rewriting the record book with this new Audi turbo diesel.
Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Well, Bob, behind these victories, there's a lot of guys who put their heart and souls into winning these, and the man behind Tom Kristensen's victory is a guy called Joe Hausner. But on the other side of things, this guy, Ed Turner, has been overshadowed over the years. Lots of podiums, but never a Le Mans victory. And today, he may be looking like he's getting his first. He worked on my Formula 3 car over in Europe. We used to call Ed Turner E.T., and I think today E.T. can call home and say, Mum, I've won the big one.
Wow. Stay close to him, Calvin.
That's a cool bit of information.
That's great.
It is Calvin's old engineer from way back then when Calvin was doing Formula 3. That was in the late 20s, wasn't it?
Keyword on old.
Well, I was going to add my insult, but I won't now. You kind of cleared the table.
Now, like we said, like we were saying, this turbo diesel technology winning this race, if it should do so, rewrites that record book, and we got Peugeot coming next year.
Well, it's just 12 hours ago we were saying, oh, this race seems endless. You know, we're barely halfway, and now we get to the final 20 minutes, and I'm thinking, where did all the time go?
Where did all the time go? All those little bon mots we had to say, and never said them.
That's right.
But of course, you know, this race comes down to a lot of other stats too. The Audi of Pirro has had 27 stops. This car has had 32. Well, right there you're looking at, you know, a lap and a half in terms of just pit stop time. And a part of those stops have not been just, obviously they're going to stop more times than the Audi anyway because of the fuel consumption.
Right, that Audi with the fuel mileage it's making can go 2 further laps than this car, so over 24 hours, that's a lot of pit stops.
Because the Audi McNish car has only got 29 stops, and they've had at least 4 extra stops for things like fuel injection, the floor, the dashboard, and the clutch.
Another thing about this car is the fact that its Judd V10 engine is basically based on a design meant for Formula One, those intense sprint races. Here it is, lightly reconfigured, going 24 hours at top speed. Diesel engines are hardly new to motorsports. Back in 1931, Dave Evans became the first driver to complete the entire Indianapolis 500-mile race distance without a pit stop. In 1952, Fred Agabajian took pole at 138 miles an hour in the first ever turbocharged diesel at Indy. And in 2004, right here at Le Mans, a team called Taurus Racing, with drivers Philip Andrews, Callum Lockie, and Anthony Kumpel, brought a diesel-powered car. Fortunately, they DNF'd in the 5th hour, their gearbox unable to cope with the tremendous torque of diesel power. But history probably will be made this weekend. The 74th Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans, less than 15 minutes to go, and a turbo diesel Audi is out front. These Pescarolo boys have given it a great fight. Henri Pescarolo, there are dozens and dozens of replicas of his trademark bright green crash helmet being carried around the racetrack by loyal fans, French and otherwise. There is Henri
Pescarolo,
a 4-time winner as a driver. Year after year, he comes here, he tries, he comes up short and says, I would like to try again next year if that's possible. His support
the fact is they are only 4 laps down, which really, I mean, you know, it's not the sort of margin that you could have expected. This Audi could have been like 20 laps in front.
Well, we said at the top of the show, it was a gamble for Audi. One endurance race under their belts with these R10 turbo diesels, the 12 Hours of Sebring, where, of course, they won. One car won, the other did not finish. So they tested for 30,000 kilometers or so, about 18,000 miles.
And that's what they've got over the Pescarolo team. There's no way the Pescarolo team can afford that sort of stuff. And like I said earlier on, they changed the gearbox on the 16 car, which is back to 5th. It took them an hour and a half. When the Audi wanted to change their gearbox, it took them 9 minutes.
That's what resources can mean. Right?
That Audi, you know, diesel runs on a fuel provided by Shell, which is not what you would get necessarily at the pump. It's been designated LM24. It's a clean diesel fuel. It does not have sulfur in it. Shell V-Power can be sold at 5,000 different stations across the UK here. I wish they had it in the United States. We wouldn't have all that sooty smoke and smell and all the stuff that we have to put up with.
But it's coming.
It is coming.
I think it's sort of about to be mandated, or it has been mandated, and the fuel in America will be cleaned up this year. The sulfur content is going to drop dramatically. Thousands of parts per litre.
There's the 3rd place car in GT2, that Ferrari 430 GT in the hands of Andrew Kirkady. Perhaps to be lapped by that car, the Penos Esperante, and race leader in GT2. I suppose that the Audi diesel may join the long list of racing-inspired innovations that make their way to street cars, including things like seat belts and rear-view mirrors and radial tires and
disc brakes.
Disc brakes.
That fuel gives the diesel more power and makes it last longer, so I'm going to try to steal some from my bus and take it back with me.
Take a 50-gallon barrel back in the airplane, which might be a bit of excess baggage.
There's Doug Feehan, Corvette program manager, being congratulated by the boys from Luc Alphin Aventures. The former skiing legend, now a racing driver, took an older version of the Corvette, the C5R, and they are in position for a podium, if I'm not mistaken.
They have done incredibly well in that car. Kept their nose out of trouble the whole race, just plunged on, plugged on, and here they are.
Of course, that's the old car. That's the old C5, the car before the C6.
It's Marco Werner. And I didn't mean to imply by what I said before that Audi might make a change, but when your drivers are getting up into their 40s, you need to bring youth and aggression along, and I'm just wondering what the long-term strategy for a team like Audi, with all the success they've had.
Well, there's certainly the mentality, the European mentality when it comes to racing, is that there's a cutoff point, and there's validity to the fact that the young guys have to come along.
Well, you want them to be there while the veterans can still impart their experience.
And that's where Porsche does such a good job with the young drivers that they employ.
And of course, the young drivers are undoubtedly quicker. I mean, it's just no two ways out of it. They just end up being quicker. It's just a case of getting the right one who's quick without smashing things up. And,
exactly. I stuck it out with Audi till I think I was 49, but then they sent me back.
You should never have even got in there. That was a joke.
And happy Father's Day to everybody at Corvette as well. And once again to our speed colleague Bobby Aiken, who along with wife Sarah just had their first child. There is the king, Tom Kristensen.
Hello.
Watching the final laps tick down here. What are your feelings, mate? You've had such a run. Any relief, or does it just make you eager to come back next year and get another one?
Yeah, but you know, it's I'm a part of Audi like anyone. So in that sense, it's what it looks like. Yeah, it's going to be a remarkable history. We pick up from our win in Sebring and improve the cars, and obviously this is fantastic. Our car had certainly our share of the problems, but nevertheless, it was really brilliant in between those, as I said. But to win with Audi, I'm a part of the project like anyone else, so it makes us obviously very proud. And in long distance race, endurance racing, we know that always have to expect the unexpected. But so in that sense, I'm a proud team member. Obviously, I am disappointed a little bit that Alan Dind and myself, we were very well prepared with our team. We were not able, or we couldn't take the fight because of our long parkings in the pits. But on the other hand, it is really great, and to be a member of Audi at this proud moment, diesel TDI, this is something very unique.
Well, congratulations, Matt. It's been great to watch you over these years, and we look forward to coming back next year and playing with you again.
Yeah, I will be back, and we will be back for sure.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you, Kevin.
Not like Tom Kristensen is going anywhere. He is currently leading the German Touring Car Championship for Audi. There's your class leader in LMP2, as they have been since before the sun went down over the Circuit de la Sarre. We are now less than 9 minutes away. Time to form up for the pictures. We'll be back for the checkered flag. Welcome back live to Le Mans. A little less than 6 minutes remaining, and team cars now forming up for those all-important pictures, including those cars. The two Audis, one or the other of which has led every lap and every minute of the 74th Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. David Hobbs and Dorsey Schrader, as well as Lee Diffie. I'm Bob Varsha. As always, I'm surprised that LMP2 car isn't picking it up to stay in the picture with the Audis. One thing about Audi, we've talked about all the resources they're devoting to this weekend. Each day of Le Mans week, they've been producing an 8-page glossy color magazine with the day's events, including news of the world. It's pretty interesting. They lay it out over in Audi's hospitality headquarters. They have it printed up at a shop in nearby Arnage. They do 250,000 copies or so, distribute them all around the racetrack.
You know what's neat? They don't just talk about themselves in there. They talk about different things that are going on in the paddock, and different people and human interest.
Other cars, other drivers.
It was very entertaining reading every morning at their breakfast.
And the sports, they've always got the World Cup results. They've got tennis results from Queens in England. They've got and they've got a bit of world news in there.
378 laps are complete. The record for number of laps is 379. So it appears we will tie that, though we will not get the distance covered because of differences in track length. Stars and stripes broken out in the Corvette garage. There's another team that may be looking for some young talent in the future to bring into the family and continue their great tradition of bow tie racing at the world's biggest sports car gathering. That famous vista down Le Hunandier straightaway.
That MG wasn't blowing up there, was it?
I don't think. Did you see smoke?
I did. Unless it was just...
There come the Pescarolos.
Great smoke.
They have fought a great fight, but it appears that 2nd and 5th will be the reward for Henri Pescarolo. And there are the Corvettes, currently running 4th overall.
Just thinking a couple of hours.
Yes, he is blowing up. How can that happen? I'm looking for the other Corvette. 12th is Ron Fellows.
That's the 33 car.
That's the American-based.
Is it blown up or has it got a flat?
It's got a flat, I think.
Flat right rear.
Right rear.
Yep.
Just
Clint
park
Field.
it there, whoever's in there.
That's Clint, former LMS LMP2 champion. Sharon with Liz
has
Halliday.
the record for pit stops this race. It has had.
That's easy for you to say.
42. Obviously not.
42.
42 pit stops already.
Oh man,
those guys should be tired, huh?
Well, keeping the mechanics, making them work for their money.
Our little Panos is going to be the least pit stops. It's going to win its class with only 20 stops at the pit.
There's Dindo Capello. Boy, has he had an up-and-down weekend. Crashing the car in practice, taking the pole.
Doing a couple of slightly odd things in the race. He got run into by an Aston Martin, which sounds a bit of a, definitely a bit of a 6 of one, half dozen the other incident. And of course we saw him go off at the chicane there, coming up to start. Do you think these guys are going fast enough to try and do another lap?
They might be.
Well, they've got a lot of time left.
2 minutes to do it.
And a short distance to travel.
They should be at the start-finish line before 2 minutes are up, in which case they'll have to do another lap.
I wonder if the Audi folks have figured out that they can break that record and told them to stand on it.
Yeah, really, get one more lap in and go to 380 as the folks begin to stream out to the pit wall in anticipation of the checkered flag. For years, Frank Biela, Marco Werner, and Emanuele Pirro, as close as they are as friends, they have labored in the tall shadow of Tom Kristensen. But this weekend, in the 74th Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans, they have taken the spotlight and held it since the early hours of the race.
And they're going to do another lap.
Off they go. A new record in store, in addition to the history made by bringing a diesel-powered car to overall victory at La South.
Some people will be really ticked off because that means they've all got to do another lap now.
Yeah, exactly. If your car wasn't running too well, you'd be mad about it.
If your car wasn't running, you'd be thinking, what the heck are they playing?
Poor Clint Field sitting out there on the Mulsanne, just waiting for someone to come around and pick him up.
And these corner workers are a little bit premature with running out to the track.
Well, you got that. Exactly. I was going to say, sometimes when you get around the start-finish line there, the place is covered in people and marshals. And
it will be this lap, won't it?
It will be now. Absolutely all down the front straight there, or the front straight, the main straight.
And while these guys steal the headlines, what a marvelous performance and what a great day for Dr. Don Panos, where one of his cars will win the GT2 class on his 10th anniversary at Le Mans, all that he has done for sports car racing in the United States. And that mark will score its first class victory here at Circuit de la Sarthe. It may not be his factory team, but as Danny Panos said before, sometimes a customer victory is even better.
Absolutely.
I was wondering if you were going to say anything ever.
And on a weekend in which we touted the LMP1 and the GT1 stories as the Titans battling all the way to the finish, it was the GT2 class that gave us the final lead change in the closing hour and a half.
Boy, they slowed up there and nearly caught, nearly caught that red
man.
The 20 almost rear-ended him. He almost got him in the
nearly had
beginning.
him at the beginning of the race. Now he's going to have him at the end instead.
You can't script these things.
He's not giving up yet.
That's right. That's the car that went looping between the two of them when they were
right there. That's James Chicane.
Yep.
He's sticking close. He wants to be in the big picture. He knows he's coming up.
Oh, it's great when life imitates art.
Yeah, just one little slip on the brake pedal, you can get them both.
Oh, there's Clint Field's car. Oh, can I just get it to the finish? Can I just take the checkered flag? And it appears the answer will be no.
Get one of his counterparts to stop and let him get a ride back on the side pod, maybe.
Well, the wind has changed direction. The rain may be coming, but the celebration will begin nonetheless. And it will last long into the night.
And lining up behind these guys, that fourth car in shot is the Roll Center Racing Radical. That car has not even finished a normal distance Le Mans Series race, let alone a 24-hour enduro. So credit to Martin Short and Joao Barbosa and Stuart Mosley. That is a phenomenal performance for a first-off car.
Well, it's so many laps down, it's not even on the charts at all. So it's at least 100 laps down.
As we mentioned earlier, victory for that LNT Panos team will be the first for its 3 drivers, Tom Kimber-Smith, Richard Dean, and Lawrence Tomlinson. In LMP2, Thomas Erdos picks up his 2nd straight victory, the same for Mike Newton, who drove with him to the class win last year. Andy Wallace will get his 4th career Le Mans victory, his 3rd class win to go with his 1988 overall title. And in GT1, 4th Le Mans win for Oliver Gavin, 5th for Olivier Beretta, and 3rd for Jan Magnussen as the 64 car picks up its 3rd consecutive GT1 class victory in dramatic fashion.
You know, up until this lap right here, you've been wishing all day this race would finally get over, but on this particular lap, you don't want it to ever end.
That is the sound of Le Mans 2006. The gentle rumble of the Audi twin-turbo 5.5-liter all-aluminum turbo diesel that, as of today, has officially revolutionized endurance sports car racing.
Round Arnage for the last time. There'll be a big crowd on hand behind where this camera is. Ooh, bit of smoke coming out of the old diesel there. The 87 car's tagged into the picture as well. He's going to come 3rd in GT2 in that Ferrari, the Acura Cost team, which of course is a great name here. Acura Cost winning the race outright with a D-Type back in the 50s. I think it was 1957 that they won it.
After winning every Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans in the new millennium, Audi went looking for a new challenge. They found one by bringing a diesel engine, the cutting edge of alternative fuel technology in the future, and exactly what the ACO, the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, was looking for. Let's push the automotive barriers forward, Audi said. That sounds like the sort of challenge we'd like. So they developed this engine, this extraordinary machine, and with this team of 6 world-class drivers, they have taken it to the ultimate sports car headline, victory at Le Mans. 35 years ago, the late Steve McQueen made his iconic movie, in which the most famous line is, "Racing is life. Everything before and after is just waiting." Like few other companies, racing is the lifeblood of Audi. And here again, they have shown that they are simply without peer. The traditional waving of the flags from the corner workers. Here come the Corvettes.
I was going to say, here come the Corvettes. Obviously, they don't want to be quite in that picture. They want their own picture. So they'll just stay back far enough.
That's the other thing about the Audis. They can go very slowly.
And if anybody should break down en route, they can always tow them out.
Good point. 800 foot-pounds of torque on a rope or something.
No problem.
Congratulations to Audi, and especially to the team of Frank Biela, Marco Werner, and Emanuele Pirot, who collect another checkered flag for Audi in the 74th Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. Let the celebration begin.
There come the Corvettes.
Near perfect weekend in terms of weather, a record crowd of 235,000 on hand, and a worldwide television audience looking in. Next year will be the 75th 24 Hours, and we'll be there to bring it to you. Corvette takes the Stars and Stripes to the podium.
Here come the local heroes. Well, I would have thought they'd have gone side by side, but they decided to go through nose to tail. The French newspapers tomorrow have a lot of articles on why they didn't win, I'm sure. Frank Montagny, who we'll all be seeing on Speed Channel next week, racing in Canada in the Formula One race.
Montagny and Sebastian Loeb really showing what they're about, doing a great job just coming here when they don't have to be here, taking their own time off to come in here and do this for the country.
And you think about the valiant fights fought by the runner-ups like Pescarolo. You'd have to say the same for the cycled Porsche in GT2. And, of course, to the Pro Drive Aston Martins in GT1, as well as those two U.S.-based American Le Mans Series teams finishing second and third in LMP2. To Brian Till.
A spectacular job by Olivier Beretta, the entire Corvette crew, but 5 Le Mans victories for you. If you could bottle those emotions, what would they be worth? What could you sell them for?
I mean, this one was fantastic. I mean, you know, this team is amazing. They never give up. They always say it in the radio, keep going, keep going, keep going. I mean, it's Corvette Racing is a huge team, you know, it's a big family, very professional, and the car is very, very good, very strong. We didn't have any problem with it. Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks to everyone at Chevy.
Thanks to everyone at Chevy. He says Doug Feehan climbs down off the wall. We'll get a word with Doug really quickly. Doug, buddy, it never gets old, and the patriotism, that really stands forth as well.
Well, you know what? As I've said so many times before, each one of the events writes another page in Corvette history, and Corvette is not only now America's favorite sports car, it's the world's favorite sports car. So we're quite pleased with the accomplishment today. The guys really, really worked hard for this. It's a shame that not everyone can win, because our competition was absolutely extraordinary. The Aston Martin reported itself remarkably well. They are great competition. They did everything they needed to do and deserved to win. Unfortunately, only one could win, and fortunately, that's Corvette, so we're quite pleased.
2001, 2002, 04, 05, and 06, all Corvette in GT1 at Le Mans. Calvin, what have you got, bud?
As you can imagine, Audi is celebrating down here. Reinhold Jost, you always said 7 was your lucky number, but today your 8th victory as an entrant with car number 8. How does it feel?
Yes, very good.
Dory comes in.
You know, the number is 7 and 8. 8 is also a good number, of course, because for this day and this great car, the first diesel race car of the world, our second race, the first was Sebring, you know that, and this is the best result what we get for Audi, I think, and for Jost Racing of my career.
Very special victory. Congratulations. Great to be here to see it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, I have a feeling that Reinhold Jost is about to take a liking to the number 9.
Yes. I wonder why.
Maybe 9 and 10 next year.
And those 8 Le Mans victories Calvin mentioned have come since 1984. As we said earlier in the show, if you want to win the Indy 500, ask Roger Penske. If you want to win Le Mans, ask Reinhold Jost. Calvin Fish.
In 1985, they did not win.
Here with Frank Bieler. Frankie, you're 4th, but this is a special one. Talk about it.
It's definitely a special one. We came here with a new car, diesel power, and to win this one, it's a fantastic thing. I mean, I don't want to miss any one of the other 3, but it's a long time ago. It was 2002, and to have this one in the pocket now, it's a great feeling.
Did you have the confidence going in that you maybe had with the R8, with the unproven technology? Did you think you'd be throwing a few more curveballs during the 24 hours?
I mean, the R8 was a proven thing, let's say, and with the R10, we did not have so much testing, you know. I mean, we were working hard in the last few months, but there might be always a little doubt. But as we saw, the car was really perfect. And by the way, when we came here, the car never suited the circuit better than that one, than Le Mans. So we felt really comfortable right from the beginning.
Frank, superb performance. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Hey.
I guess there always is that doubt. Audi knew what the R8 could do. The only thing they hadn't done was prove it with the R10. And today, they got that proof.
But we saw in that piece that Andrew Marriott did the amount of testing they'd done, 3,500 hours of engine testing and all that CAD designing. I mean, they're pretty sure when they got here that they were going to win this race, and I think everybody else was.
There's a look at your class winners. Again, congratulations to Binny Motorsports and Miracle Motorsports coming home 2nd and 3rd. Podiums in their future in LMP2. We'll be back to Le Mans.
Welcome back to the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. Our GT2 winners, Lawrence Tomlinson, what a day. You've been to Le Mans before, but what were the emotions when you saw problems with the 83 car?
It's just been a roller coaster for us. I mean, you just couldn't write the script. You know, we were five laps down. We just felt that we were sort of going to have to take second. We knew they'd driven the car really, really hard early on. They had the fastest lap, and I think they paid the price at the end.
Tom, you've been competing in go-karts since you were 6 years old. This is your first Le Mans. Would you ever anticipate something like this?
No, definitely not. I mean, I wanted to go to Formula One, and it didn't really work out that way, and it was my first year in GTs. And I mean, I did the Sebring 12-hour race and came 5th. And I've been doing the British GTs, and then to win Le Mans in the same year has just been awesome.
Don, you've been competing at Le Mans for 10 years. I think we all anticipated that it would be the team from Brazelton to win the first race. However, it goes to a customer from Sheffield, England.
Exactly, and they're a great team. We're real proud to have them representing us. I watched them a lot through the night last night. Their pit stops were perfect. They played what you need to do at Le Mans. Steady pace, no mistakes, and get across to the finish. And exactly that. And a great team. L&T and Larry and his guys deserve all of our congratulations and heartfelt thanks.
Thanos finally gets their first win at Le Mans.
That they do, and in dramatic fashion. There you see the podium being prepared for the winning teams. And the pandemonium down in the pit lane as it fills with a portion of this huge crowd. People coming from everywhere.
Pandemonium? How can you say that, Bob? It's very well organized. I mean, perfectly normal.
It won't be once they spray that bottle.
Yeah, right. Be organized like a prison break.
Exactly.
Look at that crowd. Folks come from across the world just to be a part of Le Mans. That Italian flag being waved by the corner workers in honor of Emanuele Pirot, who becomes a 4-time winner at Le Mans. He and Frank Biela both joining Yannick Dalmas, Olivier Jean de Bienne, and Henri Pescarolo as 4-time overall Le Mans winners.
I mean, we're all talking about Tom Kristensen not winning his 8th, but I mean, to win 4, I mean, God, Lord alive, I mean, that ain't too shabby, I'll tell you.
I know it's painful to you to come here and watch someone else win this race.
Well, I was going to say, because Reinhold Jost, who we saw being interviewed there, did not win this in 1985 because they messed up on the fuel. And but we did go home early. My #1 rule was kept. We did get home for dinner, and he and his wife Bridget and myself and a couple of the mechanics just had the most hysterical evening, and Bridget Jost still talks about it today, and so at least we got something out of the weekend.
Here comes the mob, boys, coming from everywhere.
Boy, oh boy, the crowd is, and the commentators whipping him into a frenzy down there.
That's all we need to whip him into a frenzy.
Yeah, right. A frenzy enough as it is.
Dr. Ulrich, all that tension was worth it. Actually, I must say, he's remained remarkably calm through this whole thing, and that's his reputation.
It's unbelievable the effort that Audi put in and the amount of money they spent on this one race. We can't say enough about how huge this is. Every banner, everything around here is Audi.
Well, they have thousands of guests here. I mean, they've got 5 jets here that float people in from England, dealers and other guests. They've got 4 hospitality suites in the grandstand under this booth now, one of which has got the most fantastic elevator. They've got a huge dining room. They've got
hundreds of cars.
And they've got 4 or 5 other areas, one out at the Dunlop Bridge, one down at the end of the Porsche chassis. I mean, they have spent a lot of money in getting a lot of people here to see it, both press and, of course, friends of Audi and dealers and customers.
That's what marketers refer to as activation.
Bob, you're talking about the temporary building they put up for hospitality. It's got to be 10,000 square foot building. Air conditioned. I mean, it's all first class, beautiful stuff. And good food, I might add.
Very good food. And, of course, you know, the cost of this, Dr. Ulrich there, I mean, he's obviously a very clever guy, very switched on. The whole thing is incredibly organized. I bet they didn't misspend any money. Every cent they spent was probably spent in the right way, and it sure has been over the years, isn't it?
Well, the bean counters will be counting lots of beans on this one.
Oh, boy. But perhaps the investment will turn up in the showrooms.
Pirot there, 4-time winner. All the pace cars here, of course, are Audis. It makes you wonder what's going to happen next year when Peugeot make their return.
Oh, man, won't that be something?
There's going to be, I tell you what, next year could be a heck of a race.
Hope they toss a couple of those engines Henri Pescarolo's way.
Well, exactly. Henri Pescarolo must be looking at that with a bit of misgiving, I think.
And it's going to be a coupe, as you would say in England, a closed-top car, not a spider like the Audis. Like the Peugeots were back in '92 and '93 when they brought Le Mans glory back to France.
And those, of course, were run by Jean Todt, who since
Ferrari
has been running the Ferrari Formula One team.
Of course, that configuration is aerodynamically more sound. It's better aerodynamically than the open-top car, has less drag.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Todd has received some pretty big offers from Peugeot to come back and do it again.
I recall when an Audi first got involved here at Le Mans many years ago, they built both a closed and an open cockpit car to see which would be better.
Well, the top end on that car should be outstanding.
Ooh. And Richard Lloyd from England, who had been racing saloon Audis over the years, was running the closed car for Audi Great Britain. Montagny there. You know, people say to me, well, you came third at Le Mans, isn't that incredible? Or fifth at Indianapolis, and you say, yeah, well, I mean, it's okay, but it sure as hell ain't like winning.
I've said that a long time ago. When you do these 24-hour races, it takes so much out of you. Anything but winning seems like you lost.
Well, I mean, in any race, if you come second, you are the first loser.
Right.
It's that simple.
But it's worse, all the work you do around this place, you know, and come up short.
Oh, terribly disappointing. I mean, that the 83 car there with, I mean, less than an hour to go, lose 5 laps of that gear shift problem. All that time they led.
Or the 009, you know, with just 2 hours and 50 minutes to go, leading handily over the Corvette in what was such a great battle to have the clutch give up just like that.
I was just looking back
evenly matched
at those 92 and 93 victories for Peugeot. The first year, the winning drivers, Derek Warwick, Yannick Dalmas, and Marc Blundell. The second year, Jeff Brabham, Christophe Beauchute, and Eric Hillary.
Eric Hillary.
Yes, who was driving for Henri Pescarolo this weekend. He must have been about 7 years old.
Well, apparently he's been asked to test the Peugeot already for next year, so he must be an excited boy.
I would imagine. It's a great thing to be called upon to perform for your country. Here's a look at the unofficial results. Victory for the Audi R10, or victory for the Audi R10. And Henri Pescarolo, no doubt, shares David and Dorsey's sentiments about finishing in second place. GT1 car in fourth place, as well as you see 6, 7, 8. Actually, GT1 cars
did very well, didn't they?
Tremendous staying power. LMP2 winners there.
4th, 6th, 7th.
And then the GT2.
And the privately owned 62 car with Nelson Piquet Jr. driving, who we see on Speed Channel in GP2 races, did a very good job for his first his rookie year here. In the 62 car, it was no match for the David Richards cars. Here they come.
And the first out, Sebastian Loeb, an enormous national hero here in France as a 2-time World Rally champion. Look at that crowd.
Well, it's an 8.5-mile circuit. I mean, they put a lot of people around here, and of course, right here, this mile from the end of the Porsche curves up to the top of the Dunlop curve has a huge crowd.
Well, that's why I think that 235,000 is probably just the number of people here on the ACO property. With another 7 miles of racetrack, there may be 1 million folks out there enjoying the race.
Oh, the hat-changing routine coming up now.
Let's just run them all out there.
They'll get there soon enough. Look at all the people still just trying to get down there from wherever they're walking from. It could be anywhere within 8 miles of here.
All right, while they continue to do their interviews and prepare for the podium ceremonies, we'll take a quick break. Stand by for more Live to Le Mans as the wrap-up continues. Speed's coverage of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans is presented by Michelin, a better way forward. By the all-new 2007 Lexus ES350, the car that asked, is it possible to engineer desire? And by Progressive Direct. Call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or visit progressive.com for a free quote. Back at Le Mans, the podium ceremonies have begun. The anthems have played. Time for final thoughts, beginning with you, David Hobbs.
Well, again, it was a pretty outstanding race. Of course, history's been made with the first turbo diesel ever to win this 24-hour race, and obviously I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the future. Disappointment for Henri Pescarolo and his French team, but they tried hard.
Dorsey Schrader.
Great to see that you don't have to be a huge, monstrous factory effort to win here. Congratulations to the Panos.
And I think Bob and the guys don't let this Audi steamroller overshadow the incredible accomplishment from the 64 Corvette team. To get that hat trick, marvelous.
Absolutely. It has been about Audi up front throughout this Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans, but recall that 50 teams started the day, and all of those 50 teams, 150 drivers who made it their personal goal to come here from around the world, this was a victory. Especially for those 38 rookies here for the very first time.
And Eric Hellery brought his young son out there on the podium with him. What a memory for that little boy to have for the rest of his life, looking down on that incredible sea of faces, all adoring his father and the other people on the podium.
It just never gets old. We thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans live on speed. For my colleagues Calvin Fish, Brian Till, Chris Neville, and Andrew Marriott in the pit lane, David Hobbs and Dorsey Schrader in the analyst chairs, and Lee Diffie and Greg Kramer, who shared the host microphone with me, I'm Bob Barsha. We'll see you again soon. For now, so long from the Circuit de la Sarthe. Le Mans 2006 is in the books. So long, everyone.